Hello and welcome to 2100. I'm Professor Cohen and I'm the instructor for the class. And this is our first meeting in rather, I guess, usual circumstances for COVID times, but unusual in my long career as a computer science instructor. So today I'm going to talk about two different things. The first part of the lecture is going to be on the syllabus and the logistics of the class. And the second part, I'm going to start talking about the material in the book. The second part of the lecture is similar to, I think, what we have on videotaped on the pre-recorded, and I will go through how I'm doing this for the class, and we'll continue from there. So at this point, let me share my screen and proceed. I'm hopeful that you will all make the effort to mute your audio, and it would be great if at least a few of you are visible. Okay, as you know, our class is going to be held entirely on Zoom. Now, the class is way too large for people to proceed to just raise their hand and start talking. So there are two ways to ask questions. First, there's a TA in the lecture or the discussion whose task it is to monitor the chat and the raised hands in the participant windows. So please feel free to ask questions, but do it by either raising your hand in the window or making a question in the chat window. Those are the two ways. So, discrete. Why do we care about discrete math, and what is it anyway? Well, most of you have studied some math already. Maybe you've had calculus, and calculus is a continuous. It looks at things and talks about limits and values and smooth things. Discrete math is different. So, for example, a piano has no note between C and G sharp, and discrete math are distinct values. Now, because of the way computers work, we have to do distinct computations. But there are many problems that lend themselves to looking at discrete computations versus continuous ones. And CS2100 provides an introduction to the discrete mathematics and structures that are foundation for computer science. Now, many of you have some knowledge of some parts of the class, but not all of you know all parts of the class. So our job this semester is for you to study and for me to try and help you learn and bring you all to a high level of understanding. So why do you have to take CS2100? Well, computer science and math are strongly related. And to say I do CS because I don't like math is misinformed. You may have had math classes that you didn't like, but that doesn't mean that you may not be good at math or you won't like it eventually. So part of what we're going to do is not learn formulas necessarily, but we're going to learn a set of mathematical facts and how to apply them, how to think logically and solve problems, how to reason in mathematics in order to read, understand, eventually write arguments, a combinatorial analysis in order to be able to count and enumerate elements in problem solving. And that leads to probability, which is the basic fundamental of data science, which is so incredibly useful today. I'm going to learn how to work with discrete sets, permutations and relations, and abstract mathematical structures to represent discrete objects and their relationships among them. These are some of the foundations of so many parts of computer science. So who cares about this area? Actually, it's not just an academic pursuit. Computer science has an industrial advisory board, and when they meet, they always ask about this class and to make sure our students learn the material in this class. And second of all, do you really want to solve problems or just code somebody else's solution? And if you're just coding it, how will you know you've gotten all the cases right? That's part of learning how to reason mathematically. And also, CS3100 and 4150 rely on the knowledge that you're going to learn in this class. And part of what we want you to do is to learn how to learn. That may sound silly, but many students don't really know how to learn. So we want you to be able to absorb difficult concepts by reading, how to figure out what kinds of questions to ask, recognize what you don't understand, and how to resolve it, and practice thinking about abstract things. So these are some of the questions that are asked at sample interviews. There are 6 pairs of black socks and 6 pairs of white socks. What's the probability to pick a pair of black socks or white socks when 2 socks are selected randomly in the dark? Now, obviously, they may not ask you about socks, but that's the basic kind of question that can be asked. So the teaching staff is with PODOs on the page, How to Get Help in CS2100, that you get to from modules. I'm Dr. or Professor Cohen, not Ms. or Mrs. Cohen. I'm she, her, hers. And we have 5 TAs in this class that are listed here alphabetically. They're all great TAs, and we all want to help you learn. So the class will be entirely on the web. That means that there will be pre-recorded lectures, there will be in-class lectures, and there'll be discussion sections, all of which will either be streamed or recorded and later uploaded to YouTube. As today's will have to be uploaded to YouTube because I had some difficulties trying to work with it. I'm hoping to have it resolved by Thursday. The dates for the tests, there are 5 tests. They may not be missed. They're posted on Canvas already in a multitude of places. Mark your calendars, set reminders. The exams will be during the class time, 10:45 to 12:05, on either a Tuesday or a Thursday. Now, all announcements will be on Canvas. All questions and their answers will be on Piazza. So please make sure you have your accounts up. Check Piazza at least daily. Missing an announcement or a deadline or asking the same question that's already been answered is just a waste of all our time. So go read the questions and answers that are already on Piazza, and that ought to help you. Set your Canvas up so you get a notification to your email, your phone for every announcement. So like today, I had to make an announcement that it would not be live streamed because I had the problems, and I sent that out as an announcement on Canvas today. So don't miss these announcements. Also, carefully read the syllabus. Saying that I didn't know we were supposed to do it is really not much of an excuse when it's been in the syllabus or in the modules from the first day of the class. So just look them over and make sure you understand it and you read them. The class lectures, I differentiate because they're the pre-recorded lectures and then they're the class lectures. And then the discussions will also be recorded live, and they will be put on YouTube. And if we don't figure out how to stream them, they will be put there later on in the day after we record them.
And in the event that you figure out the the live version of
Yes.
YouTube, will they still be there following the live version so that we could watch them after.
Oh, yes,
on
yes,
YouTube.
that's the whole idea.
Okay, that's what
Oh,
I thought.
yes. Yeah, there's a list there that says playlists, and they will be put on the playlist either for class lectures or for discussions, and the slides will be put online before classes so that you can take notes during the lecture, as today's slides are already online. Okay,
Thank you.
you want to lower your hand, please? Great. Okay. Thanks for that question. That helped remind me to record. Wow. All right. Piazza. If you have a lecture or quiz related question that'll benefit everyone. Also, if you have a homework question that'll benefit everyone, use the public post. Use a private post only if you think the question is irrelevant to the rest of the class or it's more personal and you want to send it to me or one of the TAs. All online interactions, including but not limited to email, Piazza, Canvas, and Zoom, are expected to follow common rules for good online etiquette. Be nice to everyone in the class. We're online, you're being recorded, and I appreciate be acting respectfully to everyone else. Okay, so the Canvas course page, if you go to Canvas for this class, you'll have the home, most everything is accessible through the modules, and every week has a module that has to-dos for every week. Now, right now you see this week, and I think I brought up next week's already, maybe, but the material's not there. The assignments are also accessible through the modules, and the due dates are already announced. Your homework problems and your quizzes will all be done through Gradescope. Log on to Gradescope and get familiar with it. There are notes about how to deal with it, and we will make an example of a quiz so that you learned how to hand in the quizzes. So this is new for many of you, new for me too, but that's the way we have to do it this semester. And please get your announcements promptly. When you set it up to have your announcements sent to you, make sure you get them frequently, because especially things like today where I sent an announcement saying it wasn't going to be live streamed, I sent it out this morning. And that was the best I could get it out. So make sure you get your announcements frequently. That's our textbook. Someone said, well, gee, you listed an ISBN number for it, but I found one with a different ISBN number. There are two covers that have different ISBN numbers. As far as I know, the books are identical. Okay, so there are different ways to get it. You need the textbook for readings, for homework, for practice, for everything. Okay, here's the course workload. There are video lectures, there are online lectures, and online discussions. You have reading to do and practice problems at home. There are homework assignments and short pre-lecture. They're quizzes or problem sets, we call them. And during lecture time, there'll be long quizzes, 5 of them. And during the university assigned time, there's a final. Now that sounds huge, but the reality is the short pre-lecture problem sets and the homeworks are quite reasonable to do within the scope of out of class time. Okay. So how will you be graded in this class? So the final course grade is based on 5 quizzes, and to accommodate things as they arise in your life, we will count the best 4 out of 5 quizzes, and they'll count for 60%. We will drop the lowest grade. If you miss a quiz, that counts as your drop. Okay. The final exam counts for 20%. The pre-lecture Canvas quizzes or homework sets count for 10%. There are a lot of them, and we'll drop the 2 lowest pre-lecture. And there are 7 homework assignments that count for 10%, and we'll drop the lowest one. So this gives some flexibility to you. I suggest you jump in and try and do your best, because you never know when something will arise that causes you to miss a date, and it won't be excused. So that would count as your missed one. So jump in and get everything done as promptly as you can. The letter grading policy is there. We don't round scores. So do your best. That extra point or 2 points or whatever might matter in your final grade. Homework assignments. They're to be done independently. It's acceptable for you to discuss others or to have a study group on how to solve the problems, but copying is considered academic misconduct. Don't do it. Some homework problems might be discussed during classes or discussions. So each assignment is graded as 0 to 3 points. There's no submission, or it's unreadable, or the answers provided don't show reasonable efforts. You get no credit. 1 point says you show reasonable effort, but it's mostly not right. That means you really need to study. 2 points out of 3 means it's partially correct, reasonable effort, mostly correct. And finally, 3 out of 3 is everything is right. Okay, solutions will not be posted online to homework. You come to Friday discussions and office hours if you want to work with the TAs to work out problems on the homework or to ask questions about it. Okay, you can use pen and paper if you need to. You can scan them using your phone and submit as PDF using Gradescope. Now, when we say submit as PDF, that doesn't mean change the extension on the file from JPEG to PDF or PNG to PDF. There are programs online, and if you look about general rules for homework and general rules for quizzes, it will tell you how you can transform the images that you took as whatever the format they are into PDF. Also for homework, we'll make Word and LaTeX templates for you so that you can fill them in. Okay, every 3 weeks there's a class. Remember I said there are 5 of them. Here are the times, the dates. 1 through 5 are here. And the final exam. Write it on your calendars. Make sure that you don't miss them. Only a serious health or family issue is acceptable for missing a quiz or a final. If something arises, email ahead of time as much as you can. Obtain a written note from your doctor. Just saying, well, I didn't feel well is not an excuse. Especially nowadays, there's no excuse that says there was traffic or it snowed and I couldn't get there. When you have a quiz, make sure you're in a place with a stable internet connection, because you will have to download the quiz from Gradescope. You work on it, and then you'll have to upload it to Gradescope when you're done. So you need a stable internet connection for the download part and the upload part. That's also true for homework assignments, but there's a little more time in that. Okay. The quizzes, we will also make templates for you so that you can fill them in. If you want to fill them in, you can, for example, take down the Word template, print it out, write your answers on it, then upload it, scan it, however, upload it to a PDF file and submit it to Gradescope. Okay. Because of COVID, because we're all in a stressed situation, ASUU made some suggestions for faculty to try and accommodate student well-being. And I just wanted to list to you what the accommodations that this class has made an effort to give you. I can't do everything that's there simply because I have to cover a certain amount of material, because these are the learning outcomes and I have to cover it. I can't skip sections. I have to do this. So I'm trying as hard as possible to accommodate you. Number one, the university created 2 non-instruction days, Friday, March 5th and Monday, April 5th. This class honors them and will not have any work due on that day. And of course, there are no lectures on Mondays, and there will be no discussions that Friday. Class meetings and discussions will be recorded and streamed, if I ever get that, so they can be viewed at a later date. If I can't stream, they'll be recorded and then uploaded afterwards. Office hours and help sessions won't be recorded. To accommodate students who are hesitant to be recorded, we allow students to keep their cameras off, as you see, but it's really difficult. I really appreciate at least if some students keep their cameras on so that we have faces to look at when we're talking. If you are concerned about having your name appear, then you will be allowed to use an alias as your Zoom identification if you send me a message, a note via Piazza. You can send it as a private note to me or to the instructors in general, and we will agree on an alias name. I have to know to whom the alias belongs, and it has to be not a cutesy name, a reasonable alias, please, so that when it's displayed, it's not a problem. Okay. As I said, I can't delete any material from the course to create a week-long break. However, to try and accommodate mid-semester fatigue, we created a mini break. There'll be no work due on Monday, March 8th and Tuesday, March 9th. That means there'll be no video lectures that you're supposed to have looked at by Tuesday morning. There'll be no class lecture on Tuesday. There'll be nothing due Monday. There is work due Wednesday, March 10th. We resume. So that's the most I could squeeze out. I hope it works for you. In general, the fast pace of the class and the fact that we want to have homework handed in, graded and handed back rapidly so students can look at that and help them study, quizzes so that we can grade them and get them back. I can't allow extensions or makeups unless, as I said, it's one of the doctor's notes or a family emergency that you can give me information on. So of the 5 long quizzes or exams, only 4 count towards your grade. The lowest one or the missed one will be dropped. Of the 7 hand-in homeworks, the lowest one will be dropped. Of the regularly assigned lecture problem sets, the lowest 2 scoring ones will be dropped. Do not use your drops early in the semester unless it's really urgent. Save them for late semester fatigue or if you get sick or if there's a family emergency. Finally, to accommodate any problems caused by attending the long 1 hour and 20-minute Zoom classes, we typically will have a short break of about 5 minutes for everyone to get up, stretch your legs, go to the bathroom, get a drink, whatever you do. So that'll be about 11:24. I might it's possible that when I'm lecturing, I might be in the middle of something and not notice it. I will ask the TA helping me to remind me at that point so that we don't go so long for you. Okay, so those are the things I'm trying to do to accommodate your well-being. If there are any issues, please feel free to send me a message via Piazza. Okay, late homework assignments won't be graded. The first assignment is probably the shortest time. It's a relatively short assignment, and late homework assignments will not be graded. We can still try to provide feedback if you want. If on your homework or quiz, you believe that you were not graded properly, that we missed something on your grade, usually that means you got more points taken off than you thought you didn't get enough, as much as you deserved, you must do so within 1 week of your score being posted on Gradescope. That means if you don't look at Gradescope for a whole week or 8 days, and then you say, I just looked and I have a problem with this problem, that's not an excuse. You have to look at Gradescope when the grades are posted shortly after, to give yourself time to look at your grades, to understand what you've got right and what you've got wrong. Cheating. This is something I don't like to talk about and I don't like to have happen, but it's a necessity. If a student is caught cheating, he will receive a failing grade for the course and be reported to the department. Every semester, students are caught cheating and they fail the whole class. So just remember, would you rather get caught cheating or settle for the best grade you can get on your own by studying? If a student copies homework or exam solutions from student B, both students are cheating, one for copying and one for allowing it. That's especially true now when you can't say someone's just looked over at my page during class. That's not happening. If you feel pushed to do cheating by somebody else, report it to an instructor. That means me or one of the TAs right away. The good news for us is that most solutions you find online, even on the websites you pay for, are wrong and contain peculiar errors. So it's easy for us to spot and see that you're cheating. So don't do it. Students would make mistakes frequently by copying from someone else. You're copying their errors. So don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. I know that under the pressure of the semester, it looks like a tempting thing to do sometimes, but don't do it. It's not worth it. Okay, I think I just did that, didn't I? Oh no, I said that generally. Okay, it's acceptable to discuss, to have a study group or discuss with others how to solve the problems with classmates, but copying their exact solution or copying most of their solution is still considered academic misconduct. So you can discuss solutions, take a few hours break, and then write it down on your own. Do not copy. Don't copy from others. Don't copy from others with or without their knowledge. Don't force others to allow you to copy. Don't share your solutions with others, and don't copy from resources found online and elsewhere. If you don't know if it would constitute cheating, ask. Okay? On exams. So these are online take-home exams. By taking the exam, you're pledging not to cheat. Sometimes we'll also make you sign a pledge so that you're well aware that you're not supposed to cheat. The exams, quizzes are closed book, closed notes, and closed internet. Well, I can't say closed internet. That means don't go online looking for solutions during the exam. There's no collaboration or contact with other people during the exams. If you can ask questions of the TAs and me during the exam by posting it to Piazza. If you are supplying cheated materials or solutions to others, it is considered cheating, just as using them is. I don't care who copied from whom. If you suspect someone copied your exam, report it right away. Okay, do not um, do not cheat. It just doesn't work well. Okay, how do you get help? Well, you take advantage of office hours, Tuesday, Thursday classes, and Friday discussion sections. You can ask questions about the pre-recorded lectures, about the class lectures, about discussions. We're working hard to be accessible. If you post a question to Piazza, we expect to have it being checked during the day. That's usually from about 9 in the morning to 5 or 6 at night. Don't expect to post a question at 2 in the morning or 11 o'clock and expect to get an answer that night. It's not fair to TAs. They have their own classes and their students too. So you can post it at night, but you'll get an answer the next day. And we don't answer questions on weekends. We're not required to. If someone happens to check and answer it, that's okay, but don't expect it. If you're having trouble understanding the material, ask questions early. Virtually come to office hours, go to discussion sections, watch the streaming classes or watch the recorded, watch them over and over again. You can watch them, you can stop them, you can deal with them, and that should help. If any of you are students with disabilities, contact us as soon as possible if you need a CDS accommodation. Please let me know. I suspect that the only CDS accommodations would be during the hour-long, the in-class quizzes. Okay, I think the last kinds of things, how to succeed in this class. Here's my big warning. The pacing is brisk. It's really, really fast. Don't fall behind. Get help early. Not all of the topics you need to know will be covered during either the pre-recorded lectures or the in-class lectures. Read the book. You need to understand that. If you have any questions about that, remember Piazza exists and is there. Reading isn't programming. You need to set aside time to read and find a suitable place and atmosphere, whatever works for you. Some people need a very quiet place. Some people like music. Whatever works is good. Learning course material is like learning a foreign language. I know many of you have learned foreign languages. You need to do lots of practice drills in the form of examples, problems, and homeworks. You need to go to classes and discussions and sessions and come prepared. Now, one of the ways you can be prepared, in particular for the pre-recorded video lectures, is as she's lecturing, if there's a problem that comes up, you can stop the pre-recording and try and do it on your own. Particularly, if you've read the book, you can stop and try and do it on your own, your home, and then you can watch as the pre-recording, as the instructor in the pre-recording goes through the answer. So you can see if you did it, and if you don't understand it, then you can ask questions. But you have a chance to actually work on these things first. So you can stop it and then go on from there. Yeah, so there are pre-lecture, well, it's quizzes here and they're labeled problem sets on the modules, okay? Most lectures, not all, have pre-lecture problem sets. And what that means is that on Wednesday of the previous week, the modules, everything is posted so you can start reading, start watching the videos, doing whatever. On Tuesday morning at 9 o'clock, you are to have submitted the pre-lecture problem set for that day's material. So you're supposed to have watched the pre-recorded video lecture, and then taken this quiz and submitted it by 9 a.m. on the day of the lecture. That's true for everything except Thursday's lecture, and that's because classes just started today. So at this point, I expect to put online the material for next week's lectures, the pre-recorded lectures, Tuesday and Thursday, by tomorrow afternoon. Okay? And you will have a practice, you will have a pre-lecture problem set due Tuesday morning and another pre-lecture problem set due Thursday morning. Now, it's fine if you do them early. You read everything over the weekend, you do the problem sets, you do the you do the pre-lecture problem sets, and you submit them for the whole week in advance. Great. What we give you as a due date is the last minute that it's due. Anything, the pre-lecture problem sets are due at 9 a.m. There is no lag in timing. Let's see. Zachary?
Yeah, so I have a question about the release date of each subsequent homework and quiz.
Yeah.
Are they going to be open sequentially or all at once?
Sequentially.
Awesome, thank you.
So the material that we're going to cover next week will be open this week. The material we're covering in 2 weeks will be open next week. I don't have the whole semester done. What can I say? Working 2 weeks ahead is pretty good. Okay?
That's fair. Thank you.
Okay. Anything else?
So I have a question.
Yeah, did you raise your hand?
Sorry, my bad.
No, not your picture hand. Do you know how to raise your hand in Zoom?
Oh.
Look under
sorry.
reactions. There's a place to raise hand.
Oh. I need to figure this out.
Okay, if you have an old version of Zoom, it may not have it under reactions. It may be under participants or chat. So I'll take your question, but look it up for next time.
Okay, my question was, I'm just confirming there's no pre-lecture quiz for Thursday, correct? Because
there is a pre-lecture quiz for Thursday, but it's not due before lecture because it's the first day of class today. It is due Friday at 5 o'clock.
Okay, that prompts that. Got it.
Okay. I'm trying to give you whatever I can, but even though the pre-lecture quiz is not due till after the lecture on Friday, the material for next week will be coming out tomorrow. Okay? All right. All right, what else do we have here? Yeah, so notice when the TAs will not be doing your homework for you, since you don't learn that way if they just do it for you. But the thing is, you can ask questions and get ideas about how to get help on that, or what ideas to pursue, or what kinds of things, or they might ask you. So office hours are a one-on-one. Basically, when you go in, you'll go into a waiting room if there's more than one of you, and you're supposed to sign up on the TA info list. That's all noted for you on dealing with homework and how to get help and the other things. So I may talk about it here, but the exact specifics and the way to click on it are all on Canvas. Yeah, some of this I already said. Get familiar with Canvas, Piazza, and Gradescope. And post to-dos every week under modules. So that tells you, now, if you look at the module on Monday, it'll say that you've got to have the sections, the appropriate sections read and the pre-lecture problem set due Tuesday morning. So look at that week's to do Wednesday or Thursday of the previous week when it's been made, published, and available to you. Okay, so give yourself time to get it done right. Okay, now the way this is done, it's to encourage you to do a little bit of work on this every day, because that is really the most effective way to learn math, to do problem sets and try things every day, lots and lots of examples, the way you would do drilling in a foreign language. That's what we need. Okay. Okay, so what's the to-do for this week? This is in Canvas also. So it says, read the textbook chapter 1, complete lecture set problem 2, due on Friday, the 22nd at 5 p.m. Attend classes today while you're here, and Thursday. Oops, that August 22nd is not true. I used the format. So attend, that's supposed to be January 22nd. Sorry about that. I'll fix that in the Canvas list. Start solving the homework 1. Homework 1 should be out today. By the time class is over, it's due next Wednesday, 11:59. Okay, because you will be handing it in, the acceptable date on Gradescope, there's an hour leeway in case you have any problems. Don't use that hour to work on the homework, because then you're just pushing yourself up against the deadline. So give yourself an hour, make sure your internet connection is up and everything's okay. And there are other materials associated with the book. Someone texted me and said, those materials are Flash materials. Oh dear, what can I do? Well, I'm on a Mac also, and I'm stuck with the same problem. Apparently, sometimes you can get access to Flash by allowing it in Safari or Chrome. Otherwise, I'm going to have to cross off that from the list. But let me know. I would appreciate if you tried. And that is it. We are a little bit late, but it's time for our break. So on my watch, it is currently 11:34. We'll resume at 11:39. 5 minutes. Oh, yes, Owen.
Sorry if this is a bit of a weird question, but is there any time limit to solving lecture problem set 2 after we start it?
There is no time limit, but you are only allowed to try it twice.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else? Okay, 5 minutes. You have a 5-minute break. Welcome back. We're starting part 2 of today's lecture, and that's on the material on number sequences. Does anyone have any questions about what we talked about in the first part of the lecture? Okay. In that case, let
looks
us,
like David has a question.
yes.
Yeah, I was just wondering what the estimated like workload per week, like hours worked for this course is.
It's, I believe the standard is about 2 or 3 hours per week outside of class for every hour in. And the syllabus says expect 10, huh? Well, that's 3 plus a little outside. At any rate, I think the issue is that some weeks there'll be more and some weeks there'll be less. I assume when you study for an in-class quiz, you won't study every night during that whole 2-week period since the last quiz, but you might do your homework. But the course is set up so you should be able to do your homework, the quizzes. The pre-lecture problem sets are set up to take maybe about 10 minutes to do if you've read the book and watched the video and understand them. That's about what they're set up to take. So that is not, that part shouldn't be onerous. There's in-class lecture and there are discussions, and then there's the homework and studying for the exams. Does that make sense? Good. Any other questions? Okay, let's move on. So the first topic is section 1.2 basically in the book, and it's called about number sequences. And number sequences are lists that can be infinitely long, but you obviously you can't list things infinitely. So you look at these things and here's a list that you have in front of you and you say, what's the next number in, let's say, the top one? Let's see, what's the next number there? What do you think it is? Well, it's 15. Why is it 15? Simply because we look and it's pretty straightforward to observe 5, 7, 9. So the next one always differs from the previous one by 2. And another way of saying it is it's all the odd numbers starting with 5. It doesn't start with 1. Let's see. What shall we say is, I don't know, do you want to do the last one here? This one. What's the next one there?
64.
That's it. Why? Well, we look at that and say, well, 2 is 2 to the first power, 4 is 2 to the second power, 8 is 2 to the third power, 16 is 2 to the fourth, etc. So the next one will be 2 to the next power. That's called the closed form because I know I can get any element of the sequence. If I look at it as saying, well, I can only look at it in terms of the previous one, then I can say, oh, well, the next one is 2 times the previous one. Okay, so if we describe them, I guess I just described them in English already. So there you go. Okay, so there are 2 ways to think of sequences, 2 formula notations. One is recursive. That's when you say the next one or the current element is going to be written in terms of the previous 1 or 2 or 3 elements of the sequence. So that's also called the recurrence relation. It's computer science. Okay, so for the example 1, 9, 17, 25, we say the next one is 8 plus the previous one. Now, some recursive formulas don't just depend on the previous one, but they may depend on 2 or 3 previous ones. Okay? When you have a recursive form, you have to tell the first element, because you can't start it if you don't know what the first element is. If I just tell you I have a sequence, I have a list where the next element is 2 bigger than the previous one, you say, well, where do I start? If I say the first element in the list is 2, then I get 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. But if I say the first element in the list is 5, then I get 5, 7, 9, 11, etc. So you have to specify what the first element is when it depends only on 1. But if it depends on 2 previous elements, you have to specify the 2 previous elements. Okay. A closed form formula. A closed form says that each element is specified by its position in the sequence. If it's the third element, as in 2 to the n, a sub n is 2 to the n, you start and say, well, a sub 1 is then 2, a sub 2 is 4, a sub 3 is 8, and you proceed from there. What's the notation? The notation for this is just the place in the sequence is denoted by a subscript that follows the letter telling you what the element of the sequence is. Usually the first element is A1, but sometimes people start counting from A0. Now, there's another form that gets used, and that's the sum. So the summation, this shorthand, instead of writing out A1 plus A2 plus A3, in this case, we go up to AN, where n is some integer bigger than 1. We don't know what it is when we write it like this. That means we're going to write it with this. This is a capital sigma. And then we say the subscript is written there, and it's the subscript, right? Okay. And that denotes the place. Okay, so the next one I ask you is to give recursive enclosed forms for the forms you see here. Okay, so the first one we're going to look at is 4, 9, 16, 25, etc. So let's do the recursive form first. So what is the recursive form? We have A1 is 4, A2 is 9, A3 is 16. Okay. So what is that equal to? Yeah, let's do closed. It's easier. What's the closed form of that? Well, this one is more by observation. We can say A sub n is equal to n plus 1 squared. Okay. And you can check that and look at it. Now, why do we write an n here? Why don't we use a k or a q or anything? And the answer is, well, you can. Frequently, when you're writing sequences or summations, when you write it in summation form, you usually use n to denote, or m to denote the end, and ij or k to denote the counter. But there's no written law that says you have to do it that way. You can reverse them for all you want. and you don't have to use I, J, K, L, M, and N. I think, although I'm not sure why, that's historically from Fortran, with all integers were I, J, K, L, and M, and N, and reals were the rest. But that's not true anymore. Okay, let's go back to the recursive. So what do we have? We have A2 is equal to A1 plus 5, and A3 is equal to A2 plus 7. What's A4? A4 is equal to 25, and that's equal to A3 plus 9. Do you see a pattern emerging here? Yes, those who put their, do you see a pattern emerging here? I see a pattern emerging here. Okay, so let's look at that. A1 is plus 5 is A1 plus 2 times 2 plus 1. And A3 is equal to A2 plus 2 times 3 plus 1. And A4 is equal to A3 plus 2 times 4 plus 1. So we can hypothesize that A sub n is equal to A sub n minus 1 plus 2n plus 1. Okay. Good. What about this one? Well, we looked at this one already. What's the closed form? Well, we have, that's A sub 1, A sub 2, A sub 3, A sub 4, A sub 5. What do you get out of it? Yes, Stephen.
Oh, I was actually raising my hand for the previous question. I was wondering, for recursive forms, do we have to include the initial state in the solution?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Without the initial state, we never know. As I said, you can say the next one is equal to the previous one plus 2. But if I say the first one is a 1, then I get 2, 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. But if I say the first element is a 2, then I get 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So I get totally different sequences. So the first element is what sets the pace that tells you what to do.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Okay, closed form. Well, if we look at that, we see they're all 2 to a power. So I have A sub 1 is equal to 2 to the 1. A sub 2 is equal to 2 to the 2. A sub 3 is equal to the 3, which gives us A sub n is equal to the n. Okay. Now, when you do this, you can go in and you can check it and say, okay, so what's A sub 5? A sub 5 would be 2 to the 5th. Okay. Which is 32. And we go on. So what is recursive?
Oh, that looks like Kobe has his hand raised.
Yes.
I just had my hand raised when we were asking what is the closed form.
Ah, okay. Well, do you want to take a stab at the recursive form?
If you'd like me to think out loud.
Sure.
Well, it's A sub n equals A sub
What's
n
A sub
minus
1? What's A sub 1?
A sub 1 equals 2.
Yes.
A sub n then equals A sub n minus 1 multiplied by 2.
Very good. That's exactly right. Very good. Always ask yourself what the first one is. Okay? We don't want to forget that one. Okay, let us look at another one. Do you want to look at another one today? Well, this is A sub 1, A sub 2, A sub 3, A sub 4, A sub 5. So we can look at that, and you can do this at home. Okay, so let's get a start on it. So the question I have is, what's the difference between A sub n and A sub n minus 1? Look at each of these and tell me what the difference is.
4.
4, very good. And that gives us our answer right off the bat for the recursive form, except it doesn't tell us what the first one is. So how do we start it? A sub 1 equals 1. Now we can do this because we know what the next one is. Okay? So that means that A sub n is equal to A sub n minus 1 plus 4. Now, let me tell you that it is very possible, instead of saying A sub n is equal to A sub n minus 1 minus 4, plus 4, it's totally okay to say A sub n plus 1 is equal to A sub n plus 4. What we've done there is wherever we see an n here, we put an n plus 1. So over here we'll have n plus 1 minus 1 is A sub n. So both forms are totally fine when you're working with sequences. Yes.
So I don't get the difference between doing closed form and recursive. Like what distinguishes it, like the formulas between them? What's the difference?
Question. Good question. In recursive, I only know, how am I going to find out A5? Well, I have to know A4 to get A5. And to get A4, I have to know A3. And to know A3, I have to know A2. And to know A2, I have to know A1. So I have to know all of the elements before that one in the list to get that one. But in the closed form, I just look at the place in the list and the formula that defines it, and that tells me all I need to know. I don't need to know the previous one.
Oh, I see.
Okay. So, for example, in this case, we said A sub n is 2 to the n. So I can fill out A sub 5 right away. I don't need to know A sub 4. I just put in 2 to the 5th. But in this form, I have to know A sub 5, I have to know A sub 4. To know A sub 4, I have to know A sub 3, etc. Okay?
Well, recursive is like in this term of the class is more like it's more sequential than anything.
Yes.
The actual. Okay, got it. Cool. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, do the closed form by yourselves. Okay. Here's another one. So the words for this tell us exactly what the recursive form is. Diego, do you still have a question, or can you put your hand down? Lower your hand. Okay, thank you. So this one says, the sequence starts with 1 and each entry is 6 more than the previous. Okay, so what do? Our first step is to say A1 equals 1. Whew, we got half of the problem done. Next step. So what do we know? We know let me change my way, n plus 1 is equal to an plus 6. How do we know that? Well, that's what the sentence says. The next one is 6 more than the previous one. Okay. So let's look. Now we're going to try and think of a closed form for this problem. So we have A1 equals 1, A2 equals 7, which is equal to 1 plus 6. A3 is equal to 13, which is equal to 1 plus 12. A3, my A's are not too good here. A4 is equal to 19, which is equal to 1 plus 18. That's, by the way, that's 1 plus 2 times 6. And this is equal to 1 plus 3 times 6. Do we see a pattern emerge that we can specify what A sub n is equal to 1 plus n minus 1 times 6? Yeah, okay. Very good, Owen. All right.
Oh, and then it looks like Fred has a question.
Okay.
Yeah, I want to ask, like, last question's close formula. I guess it can simplify this. I mean,
That one you mean?
simplify it, just equal the 6 and minus 5. I mean, almost formula doing the simplify it, or just this should be
You
fine.
can simplify it if you want.
Okay, fine. Gotcha.
You can also say, as you said, that's equal to 6n minus 5. Either
Yeah,
form is fine.
Yeah, because I'm not sure the goals when we go so far, they will appear some complex formula in the simplify.
Whichever one works for you is good. They're both correct.
Yeah, okay, gotcha. Thank you.
Okay. Shall we do another one? I think not. I think we're out of time. So let me just, there are a couple of more problems we didn't get to. So there's a to-do. This is on the Canvas list. Notice there's a pre-lecture quiz. Again, I'm telling you this. Your homework is due next Wednesday night, 11:59. Okay, this is what we already saw in the previous section, part 1. We see it in part 2, and you see it on Canvas. We're out of time. Someone asked the question, are the class lectures identical to the pre-recorded lectures? The answer is no. This time I didn't want to require you, so I did do that. But from next class, starting next class, I cover some of the same material. I basically review the content either in the book or in the pre-recorded lecture. And then I go and work lots of problems that are related to it. I don't think I've done any of the same problems that are in the pre-recorded lecture. Possibly, but I don't think so. But if you have questions about the pre-recorded lecture on the way any of those are solved, feel free to ask during class. I've sort of tried to allow some time during the class and haven't filled up all the slides with what I think I can do, because I wanted to make sure that there was time for you to ask questions about pre-recorded lectures if you had them. So with that, I will say goodbye, and I'll see you Thursday. Don't forget to read, watch the lectures, and do pre-lecture quiz 2. Okay.